the whole reason why I'm doing this podcast, guys, is to be developing community, is to be growing a community surrounding musicians who are going through injury recovery. And I hope you can feel my heart in me doing this, because it can be a really lonely place, and you need that support from others to be able to get through it. And that feeds into your tenacity, that feeds into your resiliency. And then ultimately, you will be able to use your experience to help build community surrounding other musicians who are going through hard times. Your injury or whatever you're going through, guys, can become the greatest asset that you have to help someone else down the road. If you get nothing else from this episode, that's what I want you to hear. Welcome back to the show, everybody. This has been an episode that I wanted to record for a while, because I think it has things that apply to all musicians, but especially to musicians who are going through injury, and it'll just help so many people. I am very confident about that. So there are 3 or 4 things that have really helped me in the year and a half that I've been going through my injury recovery, and I just wanted to share them with you in hopes that it'll help somebody out there who's going through a similar situation. And then, like I said, being a musician is tough. Improving as a musician is hard work. And so I think all of these things will help you grow holistically and as a whole person, while striving to be the best musician, best person that you can be. So these things have helped me just build a mindset that has helped me push through a lot of crap, push through a lot of different setbacks, different disappointments that have happened, and also have helped me just to grow closer to the people that I care about and build new relationships and new connections with people. So let's just get into it. So the first thing that has helped me through my injury is just building tenacity and resiliency. If you don't have the right story that you're telling yourself, the right mindset, then it doesn't really matter what else you do, because you'll still have that self-defeating voice in your head that's telling you that you can't get through something, or that that you're not going to have the things that you need to be able to recover. All these different negative things, and resiliency and tenacity they help build that mental toughness, that mental strength that you need to get through anything. I mean, it doesn't matter really what it is. It's just a life principle, a life skill to be able to develop. And then some things that have helped me to build this, I've talked about in other episodes, but the content that you watch online has a huge impact. I mean, you are what you eat, right? And so if you're consuming online content that is not helpful to you, that's not building you up mentally, that's not empowering you to have the mindset you need to push through hard things, then you're not going to be able to have that tenacity or resiliency, or even that patience. So first and foremost, you got to be making sure that what you're putting into your mind is healthy and is productive. And that includes books. One of my recent guests, Raul LaGrasse, he said that he started reading books like self-help books. That was something I started doing, and it's helped me immensely. In fact, that's one of the reasons why we have this show, is because of that type of content that I started getting into. And another thing, you have to be doing things that are getting your body in a state where you can be able to make those decisions, make that decision to be more resilient, make that decision to have more tenacity, and set yourself up for success that way. So a big thing in order to get your biochemistry to where it needs to be in that state of mind is doing things that get you active. And so, it doesn't really matter what physical state you're in. If you're physically able, going to the gym has been a huge benefit for me, in getting my mind to where it needs to be able to push through these things. In fact, I would be willing to say that, going to the gym and having physical fitness goals really saved my mental health, recently, in a lot of really real ways. And if you can't, go to the gym, going on walks, that's also something that I've been able to do. And it's been wonderful for building up that resiliency, because it's just me and myself, and I, and, just being outside, getting that fresh air. My body's moving. So, the body processes that helps are going the right way. And so you need to be getting your physical health in check, in order to get your mental toughness, that mindset that you need to be able to help you, to be able to empower you to get through hard times. And like I said, this could apply to anyone who's like preparing for a recital, preparing for a gig or an audition, not just people who are going through injury recovery. This is just a life principle of getting your mind into a peak state. Another thing that has really, really helped me, I started doing it again, regularly doing this about, 6 to 8 months into my recovery. And that's journaling, getting my thoughts out onto paper, not necessarily, writing everything that happened down in the day. There's some things in the day that I want to remember, but the lessons that I'm learning from it, the people who I saw that impacted my life in a positive way, sharing, writing down gratitude moments, has been a huge thing. And then also with that journaling, my process is like, I write, a few ways that I've actually seen the hand of God in my life, because my relationship with my Heavenly Father, my Savior, is critical to me, and in keeping that mindset where it needs to be. And so I write down a couple of those things. And then I write down, 2 people I'm grateful for that day. I write down 2 events that I'm grateful for that day. And then just something in nature that I noticed, just so that I'm more mindful of my surroundings. And that's helped me a lot in building my resiliency. Not necessarily that it's like something that I'm actively thinking about with my instrument or with my recovery, but it's just building me up as a human being. And that in turn is building up the resiliency and the tenacity, the patience that I need to be able to keep going through this process for myself. So that's tenacity. That's the first principle that has hugely helped me, and it's so critical for just becoming, getting into a peak state. The second thing is community. We are social creatures. We need other people in order to function well and to survive in our world today. I think that was probably one of the biggest lessons we all learned during the pandemic, was the importance of community. And we saw a lot of beautiful things come from that, including podcasts. I guess those were a thing before the pandemic, but really exploded afterwards. And then you have like online forums and all these things that started exploding and building community as well. And there's a lot of things that go into this point. I'm still a college student. I'm about ready to graduate from Brigham Young University. And half of my undergraduate career has been, during my injury. And so I've had to learn how to build up community through my, while going through my injury. Not only build it up, but also find ways to still be a part of it. One of those things for me was still making sure and promising myself that I would still go to my friends' concerts when I as I've been going through this injury, because that's how I've found that I've been able to stay connected to the music. And I'm not going to lie, it doesn't feel good sometimes. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't take some time to heal emotionally or musically, or however you want to put it, from your, that shock or that grief that you feel initially from your injury. Like, you definitely need to take that time to heal. But it's been part of my healing process to start going back to these concerts. And some of them are a little bit harder to go through than others. Especially for me, I've noticed that going to concerts of the bands that I played a lot in before I got injured. Sometimes those are a little bit harder to go through, but for me, that has been a huge part of my progression mentally through my injury. Has been staying part of that musicians community by going to those concerts. Another thing that I've done, that I started doing right before, about 6 months before I got hurt, was, as a jazz musician, I started doing a jam session at my school. A couple of friends and I, we started organizing that, not only for the students at my school, but also for the people in the community. And it's been wonderful. Like, we just, I think, hit 2 years last week that the jam session at BYU has been a thing. And we've seen high school students come out, they're cutting their teeth on the music. They're getting to see their collegiate peers, and even professional musicians coming in and hanging. And it's just been wonderful to see how that community has grown over the last 2 years. And it's been helpful to me to have that as an outlet so that I could still feel part, that I'm still in the game, that I'm still part of the musicians community. And that's, like I said, we're social creatures. We need that support from others while we're going through something like this. And then the other part with community that I think is probably one of the most important aspects of your recovery is finding a mentor who can help you get through it. You need to have somebody by your side who's showing you the different avenues that you can take, but also the pitfalls with all of them. From a physical standpoint, from a medical standpoint, from an emotional standpoint, from a musical standpoint, you need somebody in your corner who can help you through this process, because, like I've said in previous episodes, you can't put a timeline on it. You don't know how long it's going to take for you to get back. And I don't say that to discourage you. I'm saying that so that you can let go of that part and start focusing on these other things that you can control, right? Like finding a teacher, like going to these concerts, like learning how to celebrate other people's victories through those concerts. You can learn to still have beautiful musical moments through your community, even if you can't totally contribute the way that you have in the past. But you still can contribute. I want you guys to really hear that. I have found incredible ways that I never expected nor really would have chosen before my injury to create and to contribute to my community. Quick funny story. So at BYU, we have this New Orleans style jazz band, trad jazz band, and that's been my favorite group to play in. I played in that group up until, from when I started at BYU to when I got hurt as a trumpet player. And it's a pretty well-loved band in our community, especially within the school. And it's just fun music. I could go on about it, but when I got hurt, it was at the beginning of the semester. We had been 2 weeks in, so I had to find a replacement for me on trumpet. But then the director asked me if I wanted to play tambourine in the band. And I was like, I guess, I just still want to feel like I'm part of the group. And so I started playing tambourine. And for some reason, I don't know what it is about that instrument, but it seems to become the most popular instrument, or the audience favorite, I should say, in the band, like almost instantly. And I'm not sure why, but that's just what ended up happening with me. I became the tambourine player, and I did my best to sell it, just to entertain the audience with it. But then it was weird because I started having people in the community that would come up to me and were like, "Wait, you're that tambourine player, right?" And with the Jazz Legacy Band, I even had my barber that I had never really talked to. He was like at Great Clips or something. She was just like, "You're that tambourine player guy, right?" And I was like, "You gotta be kidding me. I was the trumpet player in this band for 2 years, and I played one concert on tambourine, and people recognize me as the tambourine player." So you can have those fun experiences in your community if you'll let yourself. For me, another thing is I've learned, I'm talking about this in other episodes, but I'm learning how to write for big band, how to compose for these different ensembles that we have at BYU. And it's been a wonderful learning experience. It's a learning curve, but it's a wonderful learning experience to be able to create in that way. And so community has been a huge part of my progression through my injury. I can't stress it enough. Like, we need people in our corner. And you can also be that person for others. There's a quote from my one of my heroes in the personal development space. His name is Ed Milet. I know I've quoted him in a lot of different episodes up to this point, but he on social media today, he put out a quote that I think really has to do a lot with this principle of community, and he said, "Never be ashamed of your struggles. They are the very thing that God will use to inspire others someday." And that's so true. I mean, the whole reason why I'm doing this podcast, guys, is to be developing community, is to be growing a community surrounding musicians who are going through injury recovery. And I hope you can feel my heart in me doing this, because it can be a really lonely place, and you need that support from others to be able to get through it. And that feeds into your tenacity, that feeds into your resiliency. And then ultimately, you will be able to use your experience to help build community surrounding other musicians who are going through hard times. Your injury or whatever you're going through, guys, can become the greatest asset that you have to help someone else down the road. If you get nothing else from this episode, that's what I want you to hear. And so just keep going with that. Keep pushing through, keep outlasting your temporary pain so that you can one day be that source, be that mentor even for someone else going through an injury or going through whatever. This is an injury recovery podcast, but it applies to everything. So the next thing that I want to talk about is curiosity. And we've talked about this in other episodes. I'll link our episode on curiosity in the show notes for this one if you haven't seen it yet. But I want to take a kind of a different spin on it than I did in that last episode. And you got to be curious about different ways that you can create in the musical sphere when you're going through injury recovery. I just mentioned I started learning jazz piano. I started learning how to compose, how to arrange, and there's something for everybody in every instrument and every field that you can learn how to create in, an art field that you can create in, if you'll look for it, if you will have the courage to step outside of your comfort zone a little bit, to be able to find that outlet that you can rely on as you are going through this difficult time. But you have to be curious about it. You have to be able to look at your surroundings, look at your opportunities, and be like, I wonder what this will be like, or I wonder what will this lead to, or I wonder what this relationship will lead to in my life. And this podcast, for me personally, is the greatest example of that for me. It really got me out of an emotional rut in my life when I was was trying to make things work on the trumpet when I still wasn't recovered. And so we have that sense of curiosity to think, I guess, for this podcast being a thing. So, and then the last thing that I want to just mention, guys, is that probably is the greatest foundation of them all, is trust, is that sense of faith. Whether you believe in God or a higher power or even just yourself, trust in yourself that you have what it takes to get through this hard time. Trust that you have a Heavenly Father or a higher power that is helping you get through this hard time, that knows this process, that knows you, and knows your capability to push through these hard times. And then obviously trust the process, that what you're doing right now is what you need to be doing to get better. And if that's not the case, then find somebody who can help you get there, and then trust them and trust that process that they're giving you, that it will be able to help you get through your injury and your recovery, or get you to your recital, or get you to your audition, whatever it is. You just have to be putting in the work every day in some way, shape, or form, and then trusting that diligence is getting you to where you need to go. So guys, I hope this has been helpful. It's a little bit longer of an episode, but it's one that's very near and dear to my heart, these principles, and I hope that they have helped you in some way. Please share this with other people that are going through similar times, or anybody who's just needing, that you feel is needing these principles to be more present in their life. It's a way where you can show your love and your support, your community, your sense of growing your community through sharing these episodes. And I wish you all the best. So just keep on keeping on. It's a great Clark Terry would say, and keep trusting the process. Until next time. Thanks for listening today. I hope you got as much out of it as I did. Make sure you share this with a musician you care about who is going through injury, a music educator in your life, or anyone just trying to make it in life. If you have a suggestion for a guest or topic to cover, shoot me an email at trustprocesspodcast@gmail.com, or send me a message on Facebook or Instagram. Before we go, I just want to give a heartfelt thank you and shout out to my team: Daniel Baldwin, who is my audio engineer, Kevin West, who does all music and sound effects for the show, Peyton Womack, our website developer, and my sister Dana Lovell, who created the logo and promotional materials. We wouldn't have the show without them. So tune in next time for another episode of Trust the Process.